we're making fresh pasta dough. So what I start with is 3 eggs. I hope everyone's doing well and adhering to the government's washing of the hands and 6 feet of separation. All these things are important. So I'm going to whisk my eggs. I like to add olive oil to my eggs. A generous amount. Olive oil makes the pasta dough nice and silky. So 3 eggs, usually that's about 1.5 cups of flour per egg. So I'm going to use some spelt flour. We'll do 2 cups of spelt. And then we're going to do 2 cups of all-purpose white organic flour. And then just a little bit more flour because we got 3 eggs in there. Maybe another 1/2 cup. Himalayan pink salt. Just love the flavor of the salt. Now don't be afraid to add salt to your pasta dough. Whenever you're cooking with flour, dough, and rice, potatoes, those items really need a lot of salt. So I'm gonna mix it with my fingers now. I like to spread my fingers out like this, so that when I'm mixing it, it's I'm adding air to it as well. Now you see a lot of people, they'll make a well. That's really great when you're doing it on the countertop, but when you're doing it in a bowl, you really don't need to do that. You just need to make a little funnel hole there and add your eggs to it. Mix the egg and the flour together. Once again, spreading out my fingers. Now this is a messy job. One of the fun parts about being a chef or a cook or a home cook is getting your hands dirty. It's a nice feeling, especially when you're making dough. As you can see, it's starting to clump a little bit, but yet it's not wet enough. So what I do right now is I take a little bit of water and I put it in that bowl, same bowl that I had the egg in. It's probably about 2 ounces of water. Add that to my dough. Now because we use spelt flour, the dough is going to look a little bit darker than normal. Just find it's a nicer, less heavier pasta when you're using some spelt flour in there as well. So as you can see now, it's starting to clump really well onto my fingers. That's outstanding. That's exactly what we're looking for. Okay. So I can do most of the work in this bowl. But eventually I'm going to have to put it on the countertop and finish kneading the dough. A bit more water we're going to add to this. The water, when I add to it, is room temperature. Same with the eggs. The eggs I had at room temperature as well. Whenever you're baking or making dough, you want room temperature. Okay, so this looks like it's ready to come out of the bowl and to be worked onto the table. So I'm going to clean up a little bit. Move my cutting board. Now I've already cleaned my countertop. This is the fun part now. Now we really get in there and mix the dough. As a young child, I used to make or help my mother with the pasta at least twice a week. She did the hard work, which was, making the dough, making sure all that was well. But I had to be in the kitchen turning the pasta machine. So, young Italian household, you pitched in. If you have a mixer at home, you can put the dough hook on and do the exact same thing. Okay, so now we have to let the dough rest. So what I like to do is form it into a ball. So all I'm doing is pulling it from the sides with one hand. The other hand turns the dough. Perfect. This point, I take a plastic bag. Put the dough inside the bag, twist it, and let it sit. In a few minutes, we're going to come back after it sits for about half an hour, and we're going to start rolling out the dough. All right, welcome back, everybody. It's been about 45 minutes, and I don't know about you, but I've been enjoying a glass of wine. Oh, that's good stuff. It's nice to have a glass of wine while you're working. Can't do that at work, unfortunately, but when you're at home, you can. So the dough's been resting in this bag. And what we want to do is make sure that the dough, oh, look at that. That's absolutely beautiful. Okay, so the thing with dough is you don't want to work it too much after it's been mixed. Okay, so what I'm going to do is add a little bit of flour now to my work area. Oh yeah, it feels real good to the hands. It's nice and soft. It's not hard and dense. Okay. Got a nice olive wood rolling pin. Don't need a large rolling pin. And if you didn't have a rolling pin, what I like to do is grab a wine bottle, wrap it in saran wrap, and I can use that as a rolling pin as well. So the whole process here now is to get this dough to be about a 1/4 inch, which would be maybe about 4 to 5 millimeters. This way I can feed it through the pasta machine. So I'm gonna make a bunch of Italian dishes throughout these videos that we're doing, and they're all gonna use the same basic pasta recipe. Okay, I like to grab a knife. I like to keep the pasta dough somewhat wide, and I separate it into 4 pieces. Okay. All right, next, paper towel. Take some paper towel, get it nice and damp. Now I do this with every cutting board, whether I'm at home and especially when I'm at work. I don't want my cutting board slipping on me. So a wet towel underneath just prevents it from moving on you, okay? This is a pasta roller. It has different settings on the side, and we're gonna start at the highest setting, okay? Which is the widest amount of space in between the 2 rollers here. I'm gonna clamp it on. Seeing that I have a granite countertop, I've got a makeshift counter with my cutting board. And it's important that everything stays secure, okay? This is my handle. I spent many years growing up doing this, just turning the machine. And my mother would make the dough, of course, and feed it through. Alright, so we're going to do all 4 pieces. And we're going to continually do this, and each time we put it through the machine, we're going to change the setting to make it a little bit thinner. Depending on the pasta that you're going to make, you know, if we're making ravioli, for instance, I would make the dough a little bit thinner than I would for tagliatelle, which I'm making tonight. I have to thank my lovely assistant, my beautiful daughter, Emma, who is gracious enough to videotape, and she'll be doing some of the editing and adding some music to these home videos that we're doing. Okay, so now we're gonna lightly flour the dough, okay? Okay, we still need to go through the machine probably 2 more times before we get the desired thickness that I'm looking for. Usually Eva would be helping me with rolling, but today her job is videotaping. You guys always catch me drinking wine. So anyway, now I've attached my cutters on. I've got 2 different cutters. One's for tagliatelle and one's for spaghetti. So today I'm going to make a little bit of both. So as you can see, it comes out nicely. Okay, I like to make sure it splits a little bit more. Doesn't that look nice? Yeah, that pasta machine needs some oil, doesn't it? Some lubricant. But still does the job well. Look at that, nice, beautiful tagliatelle. Nice and light, dairy, that olive oil, you know, the spelt flour in there as well. All create a nice product. Respect your ingredients. So I'm going to cut enough for 4 people. And then the rest I'm going to make into spaghetti, short spaghetti, and we'll use that for soup. I like to make what we call pastina, which is a nice chicken broth with noodles. Okay, so I've noticed that I don't have a lot of sauce. I have enough, maybe enough for 1.5 people, so I'm going to bulk up my sauce a little bit. So I start with some garlic. I press down on it to remove the skin. One of the things I like to do is always have a clear sink beside me, so that I can always put the scrap pieces right into the sink, okay? So I take my garlic, I'm gonna cut it a little bit coarse like that. I don't need a lot, I already have a lot of flavor in the sauce I have. I take a little bit of onion as well. On another video, we'll go into detail about hand positioning and knife skills, which I think are the most important things, next to making sure your cutting board does not slip. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, I like it when, even at work, what I do is I'll have shallots and garlic, and I don't like them all cut the exact same way. I like a little bit of contrast because when you're cooking it, you know, it gets different flavors. The thinner ones will caramelize sooner than the larger pieces, which is not bad. So I'm going to hit that on. A little bit of olive oil. Nice wooden spoon. All right, so now I'm going to cut my tomatoes. First I'm going to rinse them off. I think probably 5 little tomatoes should be good. I like the vine ripe tomatoes. They seem to come out really, really nice. purchase them at Costco. Just give them a quick little rinse. Okay, it's real easy. Cut it in half. Just start cutting it in strips like that. Rotate it. Now, obviously, I've been doing this for a long time. I'm really quick with my knife, really fast. But I remember teaching Eva when she was younger, knife skills. We did a video. I can't find that video for the life of me. I know it's on probably one of my old phones. But Eva, when she was probably 7 years old, and it was a training video that I used at work with my young cooks, showing how to use knife skills. And Eva did the demo. Happy to say she has excellent knife skills. So let's check out our onions. I'm going to come closer, Eva, so you can take a look at the pan. This, as you can see, is a generous amount of olive oil. Alright, I'm going to turn that down slightly because I don't want it to burn. It's almost ready, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a hot pepper. I'm not going to add the whole thing because my son likes it but not too crazy about it. Add some hot pepper to it now. Okay, I should have enough time to cut the 2 other tomatoes. So you can see, this, my tomatoes aren't perfect. There's some that are big, some that are small, and that's good. You don't want it to be too consistent. The other sauce that I have is pretty much made the same way as I'm doing it now, but I left the tomatoes whole and the onions larger, and then I added a little bit of steam mechanism to it, which I put a lid over a pot and cooked it, and then I put it through a ricer. Okay, so now I'm going to turn it a little bit higher now that the tomatoes are in there. 2 ways to cook a tomato. Alright? Very fast or very slow. You don't want to go in between. So this process is going to be a fast sauce, okay? I'm going to add a little bit of Himalayan salt to it. A little fresh cracked pepper. Okay, so as you can see, it's broken down. It's only been cooking for about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. In the freezer, I have some fresh basil that I freeze just for emergencies like this. So I'm just breaking it up, tearing it up with my fingers, and adding that to it. So we've got a little bit of onion, a little bit of garlic. We have a little bit of fresh pepper, some Himalayan salt, some basil. Look at that. That looks pretty good, doesn't it? Okay, so I've got my water on, and that's boiling. I added a lot of salt to it. You need salt. Now, before you put your pasta into the water, you need to make sure you have one thing, and that is this. Come over here, Eva. I got my colander. It's ready to go. You do not want to have to look for your colander when your pasta cooks. Fresh pasta does not take a lot of time to cook. All right, so my sauce is almost there. I'm going to give it a little taste. Nice and fresh. Could use a little bit more hot pepper, but I'll add that to my own pasta when we eat it. So now I'm going to add my leftover tomato sauce to this. Once again, I like to not waste anything, so I'll add a little bit of water to the bowl. Do a little swidge. Add that to it. Now, unlike dry pasta, fresh pasta cooks really fast. All right? So I want to make sure my sauce is ready to go. That looks really tasty. Okay, so got my pasta, got my water, it's boiling. Okay, gotta make sure you get your spoon in there and get that turning. I wish you guys could smell this sauce. It's really, really fragrant, really fresh. And this pasta, wow, look at that. That's gonna be nice. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more water. Like that. I'm gonna bring it back to a boil. As you know, you add pasta to it and water automatically cools down a little bit. Okay, see our tomato sauce. All right, so our pasta's just about ready to come off. It's starting to bubble and boil. The pasta's starting to grow a little bit. Okay, so I'm not too worried. I've already got my colander in the sink, ready to go. Okay, so pasta comes off, straight into the colander. We're gonna do Eva's pasta first. Eva does not like tomato sauce right now. Hopefully in a few years she will, so she likes hers with a little bit of butter, olive oil, and salt. Right, Eva?
Yes, sir.
Okay. A bit of olive oil. Butter, a touch of salt. You want a little hot pepper under the center?
Sure.
Nice, that's my girl. A little bit more pasta in there for you. Okay, so the other pasta now, I'm gonna add that to my sauce. Hot pepper. That's for you. Oh, this looks great. Smells so good. Okay, now all we need is just a little bit of cheese. Cheese now. Nice Parmigiano Reggiano. There you go. Tagliatelle.